Hi, it's Keith Townsend from CTOadvisor.com with today's CTO Daily Dose. So we're coming off of VMworld 2017, both in Europe and the US, and a lot of great news. The most, I think, compelling news has been VMware Cloud on AWS. Announced a little bit less than a year ago. A lot of people are still scratching their heads and trying to figure out how does VMware Cloud on AWS fit. We're going to talk at least about one use case, and that's lift and shift. I think this is probably the strongest argument for VMware Cloud on AWS. First off, your organization has to have determined that lift and shift is the right strategy. So what is lift and shift? Shift. It is taking your existing data center operations and moving it to the cloud. You're not refactoring your applications. You're not rewriting cloud native applications. You're not retraining your engineers to troubleshoot in this DevOps type of manner that we see at companies such as Netflix. You simply want to consume cloud-based infrastructure the way that you consume your private data center infrastructure. In the past, the math has been fairly simple. We've taken EC2 instances, compared those to our VMs in the data center, do the conversion, and you kind of get a really easy back of the napkin math on how much it costs to have your infrastructure hosted in a data center, whether that's Azure, Google Compute, or AWS with their EC2 service. Along comes VMware Cloud on AWS. Obviously, one of the disadvantages to migrating your operations to the cloud is that you destroy basically all of your investment in VMware vSphere, training, operations, procedures that were geared towards the hypervisor and having control and understanding of the underlying hypervisor. So that beside, let's look at bare cost. A basic 4-node cluster in on VMware Cloud on AWS is $207,948 a year. That's the 1 year reserved cost within AWS. You get 4 VMware vSphere hosts, 512 gig of RAM each. That equates roughly to 128 T2 large instances in AWS EC2. So this is 2 vCPUs and 8 gig of RAM. If you oversubscribe memory in VMware, you can roughly get about 128 VMs per host. You take away one host, so n-1 for redundancy, and you end up with about 380 so hosts. That brings your VM cost to about $541 per VM. So at $541 per VM, how does that compare to EC2? EC2 for a T2 large, I'd pay that 1 year instance or reserve cost of $549 per VM a year. So extremely price competitive. Now, without any other cost advantages, such as vSAN and oversubscribing storage. So, AWS, we can't oversubscribe storage. Once you provision 20 gig, 40 gig of storage, whether it's S3 or Elastic Block Storage, to your instance, you pay for that full amount. In VMware vSphere, you pay for what's provisioned. So storage is a fixed cost in VMware Cloud on AWS, so there is some cost advantage there. However, if you continue to grow your environment, if you're a large enough organization that you can consume all 3 of these production vSphere hosts in VMware Cloud on AWS, there's an opportunity to drive costs down even further. Because we have one out for redundancy, if we go to 6 hosts, this per VM cost becomes $487 roughly per VM. So just from a pure lift and shift perspective, if you're debating going to AWS and moving your existing VMware VMs from your on-premises solution to AWS EC2, and you're a large enough organization, it's worth a serious look to look at VMware Cloud on AWS and do the math for your workloads and your instances. But on paper, just from a pure infrastructure perspective, VMware is more than cost competitive with EC2 with their AWS offering, and you get the flexibility of using your existing processes in AWS's infrastructure. That's it for this CTO Advisor Daily Dose. If you want to hear more Daily Dose, search the hashtag on your favorite social media, hashtag CTO Daily Dose, or visit me on the web, thectoadvisor.com. Talk to you next CTO Daily Dose.